We're going to get started now, and as I always say before, I prefer using two henna cones. I've already got them here, the one with the bigger tip and the one with the smaller tip. So it's not necessary. I prefer working with this. If you're comfortable working with two henna cones, you can go ahead and do it. Otherwise, if you're comfortable just with one henna cone, you could simply do that as well. Now we are going to start with the first template, which is this one. So we are going to learn the first pattern from the first template. It's this one. So after doing this, I'm going to teach you some of the templates which are quite complicated from template 1. So if I don't teach any of the other templates, and if you wanted to learn it, please make sure you inform me in the chat box or in the chat window. I'll make sure that you learn it. So we're going to start with the first design from template 1. So as usual, in the beginner's class you would know how to do a basic flower. So we're quickly going to do that. Just make a circle, a thick circle, and on the outline you need to do the petals. After this, you're going to do a bigger petal on top of each smaller petal. After you're done with this, you need to leave some space and then draw an outline again. Just let me know if my volume is low or you're not able to hear me. So just let me know in the chat window, or just let Camille know so that she can work on it. After this, you need to do the fillings inside. After this one, you're going to go back to the cone with the thinner tip and start making petals on top of this. Please type in your doubts, or if you have any suggestion, or if you want me to do anything different, just type your suggestions in the chat box. After this, you're just going to keep a dot on top of the petals, leaving some space between each other. These are quite intricate flower motif which is used in Indo-Mughal bridal designs. If you see Indo-Mughal bridal designs, they're more of intricate patterns more than shading or anything else. So we are done with the first design. Hope everybody would have understood how to do this. So now we are going to go to the second design from template 1 because we are going to do shading in that. So oops, I'm sorry, the camera's fallen. We are going to do the second design. For this, just start with a dot, draw a circle around them. After that, do the petals. And after that, you're going to make a bigger petal because you're going to do the shading. So a wider petal. You can do this as a whole flower. Otherwise, if you want me to, if you want to do the pattern as it is in the template, you can do that. If you're going to do that pattern, you need to make sure you need to leave a smaller space between these two petals. You can't join them completely. Just make sure you leave some space between these two petals. Now on top of this, you need to make an outline of the top of each petal. So just make an outline on top of the same petal. After this is done, you're going to do the patterns below and then we'll go back to the shading in the end. So a line coming towards this way, keep dots on top of the line and leave some space here, and we're just going to make a small leaf like motif. Do the same thing with the second one or the middle one. For this, instead of keeping the dots inside, you're going to keep it outside. Do the same thing as you did for the first petal for the third one. This will be done. After you're done with this, you need to take the brush. It really depends on what kind of brush you're using for shading. If you see it, I've got a thin brush. This is a round shaped brush, size number 4, and I've got another brush which is flat. So as this is a smaller motif, I could just go ahead and use the round brush. All you need to do is make sure it's a little bit damp, not too watery, otherwise it's going to spoil your motif. So just the tip, and start from here and just drag down the henna paste which you've done already. If you have done any of fabric painting or if any other painting, you would know how to do this shading because it's usually done in all those stuff. So just keep dragging it down and make sure you don't drag too much because you need to have the shading there. So if you see it, this is how we do the shading. So it starts darker and at the end it gets lighter as it comes down. So do the same thing for the other petals as well. When you're actually doing it on the skin, it's kind of smooth. It's more smooth than what it is on the paper because paper is a bit thick, so you might not actually get the strokes here. But if you do it on the skin, you tend to get it right. So I've used the round brush and I've done the shading. If you want to use the flat one, you can still do it, but you need to make sure you're doing it on the sideways, not flat. If you're having a very big motif, then yes, you can use the front one and then do the dragging. But as this is a smaller motif, you need to make sure you have the brush sideways and then start doing it. So with the flat brush, you get more sharper shading and can actually see the shading very clear here. So just use the side of the brush and drag it down. You don't have to worry if you get it wrong this time or if you can't do it because you will have the recorded version of this video available to you, so you can still look at it and do it at your own time. If you do it with this brush, as I said, it's very sharp. It gives a sharper stroke and the shading is light. And in this one, you get a thicker shading to thinner shading. As in this brush, you get shading mutual in all the areas. So you can use any of it depending on what kind of shading you want. If you see in some motif, you will have a thicker shading on the top and thinner shading as it comes down. So it really depends on what kind of shading you want to do on your flower or on any other pattern. So this is how you do it. It really comes out good on the skin, and after it dries it actually gives you a different color. It looks like kind of greenish, so people kind of tend to mistake that as a different colored henna cone or it's the stain. So it just the color after it dries off. So as you see, the shading is done. This is how you do the shading for a flower motif. Hope everybody would have got it. If you have any doubt, please type it in the chat box. I'll explain it to you again. I'm just gonna put these brushes into the lemon juice I've got and take off the henna that is got there. And this is one of the important things. As you finish shading, make sure you put the brush into the lemon juice or wipe it off with a napkin, because when you do the next shading it has to be clear. If you have like henna left on the brush, it's gonna give you a thicker shading. You won't get the shading exactly like what you want. So I'm just gonna wash these ones and we can go ahead with the second pattern. Sorry, the third pattern. The third pattern is going to be the design fifth one, otherwise it's template one. On your left hand side it's the second one. I'll show it to you here. So this is the design we're going to do now. It's this one. Please follow it with me. So for this one, you're going to create a flower in the very beginning. It's not circle, it's a smaller flower motif, which looks like this. After you are done with this one, then you need to circle it. Don't leave too much space. Draw a circle just outside the flower motif you created. This one is done. After this, you need to leave some space and draw a line. And draw petals on top of it. After this petal, you need to outline them again. Not too much, but just a small outline to make it look thicker. After this, you need to create a petal a bit wider. Just make sure you have a look at it carefully. So you're going to start from here, leave some space, and do the next one. After you're done with this, start from any one of the corners between the petals and draw an outline, leaving enough space to create shading in. So start from any of the edges of these petals and start making a petal on top of it, or basically an outline on top of these petals, leaving some space. After we're done with this, we're going to do the shading inside. So just make sure you add a little bit of outline inside. Just line the inner part, so when you're doing the shading, you've got enough henna paste to do the shading. Don't do a very thick line, just do a thin line inside petal. If you do too much of outline inside, when you're doing the shading, you won't get the shading as you want. It's going to be thicker and it's going to be just a darker shade, not the shading. Just draw thin line. After this, I'm going to take the round brush because this is too small. If you are able to do it with a flat brush, you can do it. For that, you need to get size number 1 or below that. So with this one, start doing the shading. Always start from the top and then reach the layer down, because that's when it will create a smooth shading. You can't go this way. You can do it for some patterns, but most of the shading is done from upwards. So just drag down a little bit and then using a brush, just smoothen it out. Drag down some of the base. Don't do this always. Drag it down. After you get some of the shading done, then use the brush sideways, like right to left, to create the shading even at the bottom. Shading is quite easy. This is actually easy if you know how to do it. I prefer doing it with the brush because it gives a smooth finish and it's easy as well, rather than doing it with the henna comb. That's all, the shading is done. If you see, if you want to create some difference in the pattern, you could simply keep dots inside the space which you have, just dots inside each space that you got here. This will make it look more filling and more intricate. So this is another one. Now I'm going to do the fifth one, which is the next one to this, because you need to do the shading along with dots there. It's quite easy, so we're just going to quickly go over it. So start with a circle, and draw lines inside. horizontally and vertically to create a pattern this way. After this, you need to outline them again and start drawing petals. On top of this, you're going to make hearts. It's not going to be like sharp heart shaped petal, it's going to be like square and heart shaped combined. So start from anywhere and just do this. After you're done with this, you need to do an outline on top of this. Remember, we are going to do the shading, so make sure the outline is quite thicker. Now don't get confused, because the last time when I told you all not to make it thicker because of the line which we draw inside, because if you have lots of henna paste inside this, it's going to be messy. But if you create an outline thicker, you can have smooth shading inside. For this one, I'm going to use a flat brush because the motifs are a bit bigger. As you see, there are dots which are kept inside the petals, so you have to do it only after you finish off with the shading, because you might do the shading, and if you do that before the shading, it's gonna go off because you're gonna stroke down. So finish off the shading and then do the dots. So sideways, even here I'm not gonna use it in the front because the size of the brush is a bit bigger than the petal, so I'm gonna keep it sideways and do it. The shading is done. After this, you can keep the dots. And the pattern is done with the shading. Hope everybody understood how to do the shading. If you see in the pattern next to that, if it's this pattern, you're going to do the similar shading there. Just you need to do the shading, and even for this bit, you need to do the shading too. In this case, what you're going to do is finish off the shading and then do the fillings inside the petals. This goes for even this flower. Now I'm going to do this one and show you how to do it. because this one is not shading, this one is done using the lines on the top. So I'm going to do this pattern now. If you have any doubts or anything, just type it in the chat box. I'm quickly going to wipe off the excess henna paste from the brush and put it back in place so that I can use it when I'm doing the shading the next time. Now we are done with this, we're going to go back to the pattern. So for that you need to start with a curve. So make a dot and draw a circle on top of it. As I said, if you don't know how to do the curve, just keep a dot and join that line with a circle. After that, you're going to make smaller swirls around it. Just please have a look at the template, how the swirls are done inside. After this, you need to draw petals on top of it. On top of this, you need to outline the petals. The basic reason why we outline a petal is to show it apart from the previous design. If you see it here, it's just simple and plain and a bit boring. So if you do an outline on top, this makes these two patterns look different. Just do an outline on top of each petal. After this, you need to make sure where you're going to start your bigger petal. If you see in the pattern, you got 4 bigger petals from here, 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 here. So if you see that's a clock, it's at 12, 3, 6 and 9. So on these ones you need to have the bigger petals, and between each you're going to do the smaller petal. So I'm going to start from the top, which is at 12. And do the one at 3, do another one at 6, and the other one at 9. So the bigger ones are already done. In between each ones you need to now do the smaller ones. They have to be smaller in size compared to the bigger one. You can't create a similar height or just a lesser height. It has to be smaller than the petal which you created before. So this is it. The petals are done. So 4 smaller ones and 4 bigger ones. On top of each petal, do an outline just on top of the petals. Not the complete petal, just on top of the petals. Do an outline. After this, You're going to go back to the smaller cone, the one with the thinner tip, so for the bigger petals you need to keep 4 dots, very small dots on top of each other. And 2 dots on the smaller ones. After you're done with this, you need to start drawing lines on top of it, very thin lines. The basic flower is done. So on top of this, you can add some extra bits to it. Say you can add these patterns, a swirl and 3 dots on top. Otherwise, if you wanted to create something different, you can keep 3 dots, 2 on top, 2 below and 1 on top, and just add dots to it. So you're creating 2 dots here and dot on top, and on top of it, as you go, you need to reduce the size of the dots. You can create either of these patterns or do your own as well. You don't have like either right or wrong in these ones. You can just do any pattern on top, but you need to make sure that it looks nice on it. You can't go for like very bigger extra bits on top of it. So this is done. This is another one which is done here. Hope you all can see it. Now if you could tell me which designs you want to learn from template 1, I can show you how to do it. I've shown you five of the patterns which I wanted to show you, and you have like the next line which you have 3 different patterns. So if you want me to show you any of the ones from the 4th line, from template 1, the 4th line, if you want to learn any patterns from there, please let me know, because I'm going to do the 5th one because it's step by step, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So from the 4th line, so that's the 4th row, the first one, so we're going to do that. I'm just going to change the paper. So we have already done this, let it dry. So I'm going to start doing this one in this bit. For this one, you need to start with the circle. Draw a thicker circle, and towards you, when you're doing it, it's towards you. Keep a dot. And inside, if you see, I've done some lines. That is just a shading. You can use a henna cone to do it. Just drag down a little bit from the top. You can't see it here, but if you could do it, you can actually see it for yourself. Just do a shading using a henna cone. Just drag down a little bit from the top. On top of it, you're going to do the petals. After the smaller petals, now you need to create the bigger petals outside. How we're going to do is start at any one point. I would prefer starting at the top. So start here, you need to make like a paisley but draw a straight line here. So bring a curve like this and then draw a straight line. And on top of this, you need to extend it a little bit and then draw the leaf pattern and shade it completely. You need to leave some space, then again you're going to do the same thing. Because you need to leave some space because we've got to do some attachments from inside which are dots. See it again, you're going to do like you do for paisley and draw a straight line and extend the line and you're going to do the leaf pattern. So you can see now. Just draw a paisley pattern like from one side and draw a straight line and extend it, and on top of it draw a leaf pattern. At the beginning, just start practicing in the paper or your own hand, but when you're actually doing it on a person, you can't, for a fact, you can't turn their hands or change the sitting position. So you just need to make sure that you get this design right. If you see it, this is how it's done. So from each space you have between these petals, you're just going to draw a line and keep 3 or 4 dots. As you go, you're just going to reduce the size of the dots. Keep practicing it. It is just that you need to make it straight. That's another problem. Make sure your henna cone or the henna paste is smooth and flowy, otherwise you're gonna have problems. So just practice and practice, you'll get it. It is simple, just start from one place, make a paisley like a side and draw a line and then do the leaf filling inside. After this, you're going to do the shading. So for this one, you need to start the shading from upwards. So if this is it, you're going to drag the shading towards you. Not towards you, you're going to drag the shading towards the other end. Also make sure the petals are not very thin because you're going to do the shading. It has to be a little bit thicker so that you have enough in a paste to do the shading, otherwise you will mess up the shape of the petal if you start doing it in the thinner petals. So make sure you have enough line or the outline for the petal. In advanced class, you're going to learn lots of patterns as a whole. You're not going to do like separate motive like this. So these kind of motives will stop in the intermediate level, and when you go to the advanced level, you're straight away going to do different pattern on the full hand. After you're done with the shading, just keep a dot and draw a circle on top of it. Just look up the pattern for any reference. It's just a dot and a line on top of it. That is it. This pattern is done. So if anyone wants to learn any other stuff from the fourth row, please do let me know. Otherwise I can straight away go ahead to the fifth one and show you how to do that. You just need practice, that's it. Keep doing it and you'll get it right. So this one is done. Now we will go to the fifth one from template 1. The fifth design from template 1. I'm going to put the brush inside. Let me do a second so that it gets wet. This is the thing, if you're doing it with the brush, you need to make sure you wipe them off often because after the henna gets dried, it's quite hard. So as you go, just keep wiping off the excess from your brush so that it makes it easy for you. Now we're going to move on to the fifth one. This is actually easy. So to start with, you're going to make 3 circles or 4. So one on the top, one below, one to your right and one to your left. So yeah, that's correct. So you're going to create smaller circles, but thicker circles, up and down and right and left. After you're done with that, you're going to make an outline. If you are sure of how to do the outer petals, you can straight away do that, but I'm going to demonstrate how to do the outline and then do the fillings. So if you're starting here, it is just a leaf. It doesn't have to be like of similar size, just a random leaf around these circles. After you're done with this, just do the fillings inside. After this, you need to make sure you draw the petals. The petals can be of different shape, not shape, sizes. Like it doesn't have to be like exactly one size, but it shouldn't be like too big or too small. Just make sure you make a random petals. And these petals are going to be a bit different from what we did before because these are not heart shaped, but it's kind of squared, and on top you need to create three curves. Start from any one of the space you got in between and do three curves. And you can't touch the lines inside, it has to be between the spaces. So start from here, from any of the space without touching it, and then do a curve and finish it off in the other end. Repeat the same thing for the rest of the ones. In these kind of petals you can actually do a lot of shading because it's big and it looks nice when you do shadings inside. Make sure you don't touch any of these lines with the inner petals, it has to be separate. So you're going to finish off this way. Have a closer look. After you're done this, you'll need to create an outline on top of these ones. Just add some lines inside. Remember, we are going to do the shading for this one. So, not too much, but a little bit of filling inside. And also, after you're done with the shading, you still need to show this kind of outline. So you can do it after the filling has been, sorry, the shading has been done. After you finish off the shading, you can again do the outline and make it look neater. So after you're done with this, now we're going to go back to the brush. I'm going to use the flat one. It's easy with this. And I'm going to use it sideways. If you ask me why I don't use it in the front or like as a whole, if it was like a plain one, I could use it, but here you've got three curves. So if you do it this way, you're going to take away those curves. So make sure you do it on the sideways. So I'm going to start with this one. Don't do the complete shading. As you see in the pattern, you have dots to put inside the petals. So you can stop the shading till here. So this much should be enough because you're going to do the dots. So half the size of the petals, do the shading. As I said, after you're done with the shading, you can again do the outline for the top of the petals. That makes it look more attractive and it shows out the shading in the flower. So just do the half the size of the petals. done. And after this, go back to the cone, take it and just make dots onto this. Just randomly keep dots in the space you have between these petals and the shading. You're done with the dots. Now just do an outline on top again to make it look neater. So I'm just going to do an outline on top of this. That's it. The flower is done. These are quite bigger flower motifs. So this is how it looks in the end. Some shading and some dots inside. Hope everybody got how to do this bit. You can still keep practicing it after 24 hours because you're going to get the video to review after 24 hours from now on. So you can look at it again and then do it. So we are done with the first template. Now we are going to go to the second template. If you see here, this one has got 3 of the flower motif which has shading and it's different flowers compared to the other one. So I'm going to teach you all these 3 and show you how to do it. So straight away after that you can go to some paisley designs and then you can do some from template 3. You need to go to the main designs. So this is done. Now I'm going to take this one away as well and start doing on the next page. So first you're going to do this pattern. So this is the pattern we're going to do. To start with, just make a centered motif. They call this bindi shaped motif. If you see in a lot of bindis, you have this similar shape. So create this in the center, and at the side, on each side, you're going to create a leaf-like pattern. After this, you need to keep a dot on top of it, and then 5 dots around it. If you see it, I've done some shadings inside, so you don't have to use a brush, just use a cone and then just do this, and this will actually create the shading for you. Just rub it down and bring all the henna paste from all the sides of the petals. This will do the shading. You don't have to take a brush. In case if you want to use a brush, make sure you use like round shape 0 sized or 1. If you use a bigger one, it's gonna spoil. So this one is done. Now we are going to start doing the petal on the outside. So start with the petals from below. and continue it on the sides. Even these ones, they shouldn't come in touch with the petals you have done here. Just need to keep going on without touching these ones. Just connect all these petals together. After this, you need to do the fillings inside because you're going to do the shading now. After this is done, I'm going to go back, get a flat brush, and then do the shading. Just like what I did on the last one, just use the sideways and do the shading. For this one, you can complete the whole of the petal because you're not going to do any dots or anything. So you can go towards the petal, towards the inner petal. So this is what I meant when you have like henna paste all around the brush or it's thicker. Just make sure you wipe it off, otherwise you're not going to get the shading right. Wipe it off and then start doing the shading again. Shading is done. After this, you need to again redo the lines because when you do the shading continuous, you don't have the lines in between. So just start from the line and do the outline again so that it will finish the design with a neat look. So the flower motif is done. Now I'm quickly going to do the second pattern and the third one so that we can go to the rest of the designs. This is the thing, you need to keep wiping off the henna thing from your brush. Don't forget to leave it dry, then it's going to be a problem for you when you're going to do the shading again. Side by side, do it and keep it. So now we're going to do the second pattern. To start, you need to draw leaf on both the sides. On two sides, just draw a leaf. Then below, do a stem of the flower a little bit bigger. After you're done with this, just as I said, you can use your henna cone to do the fillings inside. Sorry, the shading inside. So just join all these edges together or those walls inside. This will create the pattern. After you're done with this, you need to create a swirl on top, then dots on top of these swirls. After you're done with this, start from here. The very first petal has to begin from here. In this one, you're not even connecting the petals. Each petal has to be separate but close to each other. After you're done with this, we are going to finish off the pattern below. Just create swirl on this side and keep dots here. And on the other side, so do the leaf. Oh my god, now my cone is getting stuck and it should be alright now. You need to draw a leaf, then a swirl again, then dots on the rest of the areas. Now we're going to go back to the shading again. On top of it, just do a lining, just outline just the top bit, don't outline the sides, just outline the top bits of the flower petals. After you're done with this, as I said, you need to use the side of the brush and do the shading. With this one, you can actually bring down the shading a little bit higher than the petal, not too close towards the center motif which we drew, but a little bit lower than the actual petal size. Some people prefer working with the henna cone this way, but I gave it a try and it took time for me, so I thought using the brush was quick, plus it gives a smooth finish compared to the ones created with the henna cone. After this is created, as I said, you need to do the outline again to make it look neat. Shading actually gets quite messy, so after you finish off the shading, you need to make sure that you do the lines again and make it look neat. This is the second flower using a shading. Was the first one, and this is the second one. Now we're going to do the third one, and third one is a bit easy. It is just as what the first one and second one was. So if you want to learn the third one, please type it in the box. Otherwise, I could go ahead with the paisley design and the other ones. So if you want me to show you the third pattern from template 2, do tell me. I'm just waiting for your reply. If you are confident about, or if you know how to do it, I can straight away go to the paisley designs and show you some of it. Alright, now we'll move to the paisley designs. The beginners class we learned some of the paisley designs, so it's more or less the same except for some of them which has shading and stuff. So we're gonna go about it once again, the previous designs which are similar, and then we can go directly to the shading. So I'm going to quickly show how to do the first one that is from the fourth row. That's the first design onto your left hand side. So everybody must be knowing how to do the paisley, the basic paisley design. So quickly I'm going to show you how to do the fillings inside. So start with the outline of the paisley is done. For the first one, you need to start from here. So a dot, draw a line below. You can have a look at your template for the details what I'm doing if you are not able to see it through the webcam, if it's like too intricate or if it's too tiny. So this is the second one. You need to draw lines. So inside this you need to do the shading. I haven't mentioned it there, so if you can remember, otherwise if you want to make a note, just write it down somewhere there. After the lines you need to do the shading here. For this one I'm going to use the brush. Just stroke it upwards and downwards, and the shading will be done. And you need to draw the outline again, because after shading you need to do it. After this, create a curve here, and on the top you need to create another curve and do the fillings inside. So inside here you need to draw simply lines, just normal lines. And here you need to do the dots. And the first design is done. The second pattern here is, just please make a note of it. So this pattern is just lines here, so you can do it yourself. This pattern, it is just lines. So I'm going to show you the third one. I'll tell you which are the patterns that has shading so that you can note it down when you're doing it or practicing it, you know what you're doing in there. So we're going to do the third pattern. As usual, you need to draw a paisley, outline of paisley. For here, you need to start from the other side. So leave some space and do the fillings inside. Then there you need to do some swirls. Please look at the template too for the swirl, how it is done. So you need to do that. Then line it with 3 lines. After that you're going to do the heart-shaped petals. Outline the petals again and draw a line on top of it. Outline it. Here, make sure it's shading. So you need to apply some henna paste this way because you're going to do the shading. Just apply some henna paste here randomly. And here you need to draw lines, which is going to be usual lines. Just draw 3 or 4 lines depending on the size of your petal. You need to go back to the brush, take a flat brush, then do the shading, and then after the shading is done we can work on the dots inside. Just use the brush and do the shading. Then in the space we can keep the dots. And here another pattern will be done, which is going to look like this. This is the third one. Just mark it down as shading on after the dots. Just make a note of it. Now we are going to go to the fourth design from fourth row. Even that is shading. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. And before that, the fifth one is even shading. It is just the shading on the side. So I hope everybody can do that one. So I'm going to do the fourth one from the fourth row. Create a paisley outline. My cone stuck. After this, towards this way, you're going to create curves, and you're going to do the fillings inside. That's how it's done. If you see the pattern, the outlining on the other side is a bit curvy, and you need to do the fillings inside. After this, you need to apply some henna paste randomly on this side as you're going to do the shading here. apply some henna paste on this side, and then using a brush sideways, create shading. After this is done, you need to keep dots between the shading and between the empty lines. So this is the other pattern, how it looks like. So we are done with 3 patterns from the 4th row. Now I'm going to show you the first pattern, the second pattern, and the 5th pattern from the 5th row. If you have any doubts with the 3rd and the 4th, please do tell me, I can teach that even. I'm going to do the 1st, the 2nd, and the 5th one from template 2 from 5th row. Hope everybody can understand shading at least a little bit now and how to do it. Give it a try and tell me how it is. If you don't have a brush right now, just keep practicing until you get shading nice. So we are going to do the first pattern from 5th row, which is onto your left hand. For this, as usual, create a paisley outline. After this, you're going to start from here. You're just simply going to create a circle and petals and outline the petals. You're going to make a circle, a petals on top, and you need to outline these petals. You can customize your own design or create your own design using different paisley and different flower motifs that's from the templates. That is what I've done in template 4, combined some of these patterns like paisley and floral patterns and formed it into a design. So the pattern is done. This is the first one. Now we are going to do the second one now. For this, you need to create curves on this side. So start from and stop till here. You're just going to create curves till here. And after that, just fill it with the henna paste. After this, you're going to create swirls on the other side. After the swirls are done, you need to outline them. Either you can do shading here, but I prefer doing lines, so just draw lines and connect these swirls and curves on the other side. As you can see, these were the paisleys that have been created till now. So now we're going to do the last pattern from row 5th row, and that is going to be on your right hand side, the first one from row 5. So for that, as usual, create a paisley outline. For this one, you need to do the shading first. Just make sure you write down as shading there. You need to do the shading first and then do the pattern in the center. For this, you're going to add some more henna lining inside, just for another layer inside, so that we have enough paste to do the shading. After you're done with this, just do from both the sides. First you're going to do this way. As I said, when you're doing the shading, the lines tend to thin, and leave it till here because you're going to start the center part. Leave some space for that, and then do the shading on the other side. So with shading, the line tends to thin, so you can do it again. So after the shading is done, draw an outline again to neaten it. Now we can go to the center one. First you're going to do the swirl or the curve. On top of it, you're going to make 3 dots, 2 here and 1 on the top. So the other way, so if this curve is facing the left, the next one should face the right. Then again keep 3 dots and go there and keep another one. So this is another paisley which is done. So if you see it, these were the different kind of paisleys we have done. So please take a look at the 6th row and tell me which one you would want to learn. I can teach you that. Hope you've understood so far about shading and the techniques. Now you can tell me which ones do you want to learn from 6th row. We can do that and we can go to template 3. So then I would want the first and third. So if anyone else wants anything, please, even Seema wants it. So I'm just waiting for Jamila to answer if she is here. If she wants anything from the 6th row. Alright, we will go ahead with the first and third one. Alright, so we're going to do the first and third one from row 6. Create the outline for paisley. Make sure it's a bit bigger because we're going to do a bigger fillings inside, and I'm just quickly going to do another outline for the paisley so that I can straight away go and teach you the next one. So for the first one, we're going to start from the other end, and then we're going to come down and then do the rest. So please follow it with me. You're going to do shading on the top and outline it and draw petals on top of the line and outline them again. After you're done with this bit, you need to come back down. You need to come here and do the other patterns. For this one, create a thicker semicircle, and on the top of it create an outline. Draw petals on top of this line and leave some space and draw a line on top and fill it with the henna paste. Again do a line. For this one, you're just going to fill it, leaving space between each other. Just leave some space and keep dots in between, and then do the outline on top of it. Do the same thing on the other side. When it comes to Indomoglite pattern, it is all about repetition. It may look different, but if you actually look into the design, it's all the same. You just need to do a little bit different to change the whole look of the design. So it's not that hard, it's just the repetition of the pattern. When you're doing patterns like this, you need to make sure the paisley design is a bit big. You can't do this whole pattern in a small paisley pattern. So you're done with the motif on both the sides. Now you just need to draw lines and to check on the other side. So just draw lines and vertically and horizontally and finish it. So this pattern will be done. So the next one, we're going to do pattern 3 from 6th row. For this one, start from here create a semicircle. You need to do shading here. You can do it with a cone. So just, as I said, just drag down a bit and do some swirls inside. You'll create the pattern. Draw a line on top of it and another line, and keep dots just like what you did for the previous pattern. Leave some space and keep dots in between, and outline it again just on top of it. And here you need to create petals. Draw a thicker layer of petals like this, and you need to outline them again. Even here you need to do the shading. Just use your henna cone pot to do the shading here. And do the same kind of motive on the rest of the space. Just a semicircle and do the fillings inside. So a thicker line and some petals on top. Outline them and then just create some shading inside using your own henna cone just by doing the swirls. So when you come to the end, you just need to do the fillings there. Simply just do the fillings and the pattern will be done. So as per the request, pattern number 1 and 3rd from 6 row is done. Now we can go to the 3rd template. If you have a look at it, the 3rd templates are basically the boxes, which I call it either wristband or handband. So you do these kind of patterns either here on here or in the front as a band. So, and you got some patterns below as well. If you see after the boxes get over, you have got some of the patterns. What we can do is, we can do the fillings inside the boxes and the box design after we do the rest of the extra designs which I've given. So which will be these. So these are the designs. So from here to here, so from the 4th row to the 6th row. So if anybody wants anything from there, you need to ask me. I can teach you that, because these are the similar patterns and I haven't thought about what to teach. So from the third row till the sixth row, please have a look at the templates and tell me which pattern you'd like to learn or which pattern you'd want to do now. I can teach you how to do that. Then we can go back to the patterns I wanted to teach and we can go to the hand in the box patterns. Take your time and let me know which one you want to learn from template 3. Alright, I think this is the pattern you are asking for. Alright, so we'll go ahead with this. That design you need to do it as a part of either like from one end to the other. For example, these ones you can do it here. If you see, you can actually do it here, which comes from the side of the hands. So you can do that. I'm just going to draw a line as like as a tool to start the design. So just draw a line. You're not going to draw the line when you're doing it in the hands. You're going to straight away do it. But here I need to do it so that I have a correct point to start with. So I've done the line. The first design we're going to begin with is the thicker line, which is in the center. If you see it, there's thick line. So you have to start from here and bring it back here. And bring it a bit curvy. After that is done, draw a line from inside two lines and one line on top of it. After that, you need to do designs inside this bit. So we're just going to create a, a motif or a petal, half shaped, heart shaped. So if you cut heart into two, you're going to get this shape. So you're going to create that one and another petal like motif here. With this one, you can either do lines or you can do the shading. So for with one, I'm going to do the lines. With this one, I'm going to do the shading. Depending on what kind of pattern you want, you can do either shading or lines. So On one side I've done the lines, and the other side I'm doing shading. But when you're doing it, make sure both the sides are the same. I'm just showing it to you to make a difference how we can do this design, either with lines or with shading. So here we're going to start with the half paisley. It is like a sharp paisley design, except for the end. End you're going to keep it sharp. A paisley design. On top of it, we're just going to make a small curve, and on top of that we're going to make slightly a bigger curve, and on the top, joining with this, you're again going to create a paisley design, a sharp paisley, half paisley design. And on the top as well. So when you're doing this design on the top, you need to make it a bit curvy, which will look like this. After all this is done, you simply need to go and do the lines or shading as per your wish. You can either do lines or you can either do shading. So I'm going to do lines for these two bits, and in the center I'm going to do the shading. So this is it. That pattern is done. So you can have a look. Hope you understood how to go about it. Very simple. Start with a thicker line in the center, do the line below, do the two lines below, then one line on the top, then start with the petals to inwards, and you can either do a shading or lines, and on top of that just do a sharp paisley pattern, and then you can either do lines or shading again. Hope everybody got it. Look for some of the patterns from the row 3rd to 6th and see which one you want to learn. If you could quickly say which one you want, then do it quick and go to the next ones. Please have a look and let me know about it. We are still on those because there are different kind of shading which is being, but if you want me to go ahead and straight to the tables, or sorry, the box patterns, I can still do it. So this is the first row. Just make sure it's like the 3rd to 6th. I'm a bit confused, so if you could tell me, I could show you the patterns. Alright, so I'm going to teach this bit, this one first, then we're going to learn how to do this one and this one quickly, and the rest if you want I can teach. And after we're done with the box designs, we're going to break up for about 10 minutes, like 10 minutes we're going to have a break, and we're going to come back and start doing the hand design. Before that, I would just like to tell you, if you see, have a look at the template 4, the first two patterns are already done using the different petals and different flower patterns from the templates. So I'll be just teaching the last one. You can practice the first and second basic. I'm just going to do the last one. Now you're going to do the box design. For that I need to make a box. We are on the middle one from row 3, the third row. I'm just quickly doing the box. I can't do the complete designs like fulfilling, so I'll just show you how to do the basic, otherwise it's going to take a long time. I'll just show you how to do it. To start with, you need to make sure that you start the center one by giving equal space on both the sides. So start here. These lines should be thick, so draw another line on top of them again. After that, you need to create leaf patterns, which is simple, a small line, and do this. Draw a line, keep a dot, and extend the dot. You will get this pattern. Draw just a small line to begin with, keep a dot, and extend the dot. After you're done with this, you need to do an outline, which is going to be slightly towards the sideways. After this, we are going to outline them again. After you're done with this, you need to do the filling. So you need to start from the other corner. For this, you need to create a swirl. Let me bring it closer to the cam so that you can see. Make a swirl and draw a line on top of it. Do the petals. After that, you need to make a square shaped petal and keep dots on the inner edge. You're not going to outline or do anything. You're just going to simply do this again. So create a curve or a swirl, outline them, draw petals on top of the line, and on top of that you need to make square petals. Repeat the same thing for the rest of these boxes. This is how we do about it. So if you want to use some other pattern, you can still go ahead and do it. For example, you can create the fillings which I've used it on the first one from the third row, the left hand side. Onto your left hand, the first one from the third row, I've used a pattern for filling, so I can use that for this even. For that, you need to have a circle, then outline them thick, and the petals have to be thin and long. Once again, you need to do the circle and the petals. The circle has to be thick and the petals have to be thin. This is how it's done. So this pattern is completed. We're going to go to the next one, which will be the second one from row 2. It's the same pattern, it's like the step-by-step thing. So we're going to do that now. I hope everybody got this one. For that I need to make a box again. Here you need to make small flowers, say like 5 petals ones. First draw a flower, then after you're done with doing the flower, you need to do a thick outline on top of the flower, which will look something like this, if you see it. So first you need to do the flower, small flower motif inside. After you're done with the motif, you just need to do a thicker outline on top of it. Do the same thing again. So depending on the size of the box or the pattern, you can create as many flowers as you want. So for this one, we're going to do 2 different fillings. The first one is going to be, you're going to draw a circle, keep dot not in the center, just below the circle line, and we're going to draw an elongated petals, thin and elongated petals. Keep a dot and draw a thin and elongated petals this way. This is one form of filling this. If you want another one, you can do the third one from the second row, which is going to be just swirls, 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 swirls inside. So you complete a swirl, you have to keep on doing the swirls. You just need to keep doing this rows and your pattern will be done. This is another pattern which you can do. Otherwise, if you want another pattern, you can simply keep a dot and close the line. Keep a dot and close the line. This is another way of doing another filling. A bigger dot and cover it up. So this is another way of doing the fillings. The last bit I'm going to teach the first one because that one has got the shading inside. So we're going to do the last table design. So for this you're going to create another box. Then draw lines leaving enough space for the shading to be done. Then do it sideways, leaving enough space again. When your henna paste is smooth and flowy, you can get small lines and without getting stuck. So after this, what you're going to do is with each box you're going to do the thickening or an outline again because you're going to do the shading inside. You need to do the lining inside of each box. Not too much, just a little bit to do the shading. After this, go back to the brush. I'm going to use the flat one, the flat brush, and I'm going to do it sideways as usual. So just drag down the paste this way. For this one, you need to do the shading completely. You're not leaving any space, so you just need to make sure you do the shading completely. After you're done with the complete shading, you can then draw lines again and neaten the boxes. You might get excess coming out, so just take a tissue and wipe it off. while doing the shading, you're gonna mess up the line, you're gonna mess up everything, but you can draw the lines back again and neaten it and make it look good. So we are done with the shading now. Now we need to create the lines again. And just keep a dot on the center of these designs. When the henna stains, you're gonna have the lines and the dots in a darker shade. The shading will be done. Stain of the shading will be in lighter shade. This is how you're supposed to do it. So this is done. If you have a closer look, these are the different kind of box design what you can do. Hope everybody have got it. Now we can move on to the template 4 and do one design from there. Then we can break up for a break. Then we can come back and do the main designs. For this one, I'm going to do this third design here. The second design, these motifs I used is, you can use these motifs on here on the center of the back, and you can create a smaller finger designs by yourself. So these are like just the basic designs. If you wanted like to do a very basic of Mughlai, instead of Indo Mughlai, you can stick with these designs. If this is the one, you can have it this way, and you can do some finger designs. What I'm going to do is, when I'm sending you the rest of the templates, I'm going to do the finger designs for these three motifs and send it along with the templates, so you can create a complete design out of it. We're now going to do the third one. You have a lot of shading to be done in this, that's why I'm teaching you that. So we'll start with just a circle, then keep dot, draw petals around it, then make longer petals, as you reach here, you're going to stop because you're going to do the center design from here. After you're done with the petals, Just do an outline. Now we're going to go to the brush and take the brush and start doing the shading. For this I'm going to use the round shaped smaller brush. You can just create shading on top of the petals, it doesn't have to be full, just on top of the petals. After you're done with this, you're going to do the outline again to neaten it. Just a quick outline to neaten the design. After this, you're going to do the paisley. That will start from here and end here. So start from this end and finish off here, and just bring this end and join this one. After this, we're going to create the petals on outside. So draw these petals outside. Keep dot inside, then just outline a little bit on top. And you're going to do the shading. Just a small shading is enough. After this is done, just finish it off with dots going down. So the lower part is over. Now we need to come back to the paisley. Draw a swirl, outline them both, and fill it. Petals on the top of each other, double petals. Keep dot, and then cover it again with an outline. And on this side you need to do a thicker outline, a little bit thicker outline, so that we can create the shading. After this is done, you're just simply going to do the shading that is going towards the other side. If you think you got like lots of henna paste still left there, wipe off the excess and again start shading again, unless you get a lighter shade. Then the shading will be done. Now we need to go to the top. So starting from here, you need to do a line which goes this way. After this, you need to create a floral pattern on the side. For this, start with a swirl, outline it, then draw 2 layers of petals, then on the top you need to draw a wider petal, a bit bigger, and you need to outline them. Just draw an outline on top of it to make it nice. After done with this design is quite big, so I'm just going to extend this one a little bit. On this side, first you need to create a line and a paisley, not paisley, a leaf-like motif. Then on the inside you need to draw a line again and keep a dot. Then on the other side draw a line and keep a dot and a smaller line and then keep it again. After this design is over, you can just keep, I haven't added the dots there, but you can keep it. So on top of these you need to create 2 dots on these each petals. After this is done, you need to keep dots again here even on these petals, just 2 dots on top of each other, a bigger one and a smaller one. After this is done, on to this side, you're going to create a swirl, and on top of that, you need to create a line with the dot, then a bit bigger line with the dot again, then the third one slightly smaller, then the fourth one a little bit bigger, the other one you need to do the floral motif, the leaf motif, sorry, you need to do the leaf motif, then create a line with the dot again, and then do the floral leaf motif again, and finish off with the swirl. So this is the whole design. See it for yourself. I'm going to create the finger designs for these the 3 designs, and send it to you. So we are going to take a break for 5 to 10 minutes from here because we got another template to do. We actually don't have time left. I don't mind staying for another half an hour and do it, but I don't know how long you can wait or free. See, so you just need to come back and tell me which pattern you'd like to learn so that I can teach that specifically. So we're gonna break here for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm gonna be back in 5 minutes. I'm gonna stop the broadcast, and as soon as I come back again, I'm gonna do it. So it really depends on which full hand do you want, either back or front. You need to tell me which ones do you want. If you see in template 5, the right hand side is more with shading and leaf because we have already done that flower bit. You just need to add a little bit of extras to it, and on to your left you've got the similar pattern which we done. And if you look at template 6, you've got two different types. One is template 6 on your right hand is more of a traditional and bridal Indo-Mughal. On to your left, it's more of a contemporary look. So after coming back, you can decide between you all. So whichever one you want, I can teach it. So Jamila needs the one from the template 5, the left hand design. I'm a bit confused now. If you want to go for your right hand side or your left hand side, or because like on my right hand side the pattern is for your left hand side, and for my left hand side the pattern on the hand is for the right hand side. So whichever one you want, I can teach. Just decide between you three and tell me which ones you do like to have, because I'm fine with teaching anything. So it's just you guys need to discuss and see which ones would you find preferable to teach now rather than you learning it yourself. So after coming back from the break, we can actually work on the design. It's gonna take a little bit extra time as what we decided. It was for 3 hours, but I think the class is gonna go a little bit more. This is what happens in every class. We don't finish it on time, but I'm fine with it. We are gonna finish off in one pattern and then finish the class. So I'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes. You guys can go and drink something. If you have prayer, you can pray and come back. Or if you want to eat anything, anything is fine. 10 minutes, fine. So I'll be here in 5 minutes to 5 to 10 minutes, so you all can come and join. So when everyone is here, we can start doing the design. So I'll see you all in 10 minutes, and we'll go about with the design. So take care and hope you had a good time till now. And I'll see you after 10 minutes. Bye bye.